Enough with the searching glances, Dimitri. Say what you're going to say.
I was just thinking that I find it difficult to speak with you, even now that we have the opportunity to exchange words peaceably. Too many have died for us to suddenly have meaningful heart-to-heart conversation.
Oh, that's not how I feel. Unless you mean you don't wish to speak with the tyrant you consider responsible for their deaths. In which case, let's just believe what we believe, accept that our paths have diverged, and see this through to the very end.
You're placing words in my mouth. Still, I suppose that does cut to the heart of the matter. I will not claim that all my choices were right, but I accept responsibility for them. I made them carefully and with full knowledge of the consequences.
And I'd like to think I can say the same. But this is unproductive. We need to get out of here.
Fair enough. But first, answer me this. Do you know what became of your mother and Selma?
Why would I?
Someone told me that you would know how she met her end. Although I suspect that was nothing more than the dying ravings of a madwoman.
It was. I haven't seen my mother since I was a child. It would have been right before she was exiled. You would know what happened better than I.
I suppose so. Regardless, thank you for answering. Now, shall we get back to finding our way out?
Please, we can't resolve anything so long as we're trapped in this...
That was quite the tremor.
Whatever this place is, I find myself liking it less by the moment.
Can you stand?
Yes, thank...
Perhaps we can put our differences aside, if only for the moment. The hostilities will do us no good here.
Yes, I suppose you're right. I can agree to that. You know, I just remembered something from back when I was but a child. I had fallen to the ground and was met with a kind hand reaching out to help me up. I took it without thinking, without even looking first to see who it was. I suppose that shows you how much I've grown. Dimitri, what is it?
I have a similar memory. One of helping a little girl who had fallen in the dirt.
Knowing you, such occurrences would have been commonplace in your youth. Don't try to imply we share a memory.
No, I rarely forget an important face. Often to my own woe, I might add.
Enough. Let us end this before we both make greater fools of ourselves. We need to escape. That's our only priority. Not that the world outside will be any kinder to me than the one in here.
Edelgard,
What are you doing? You should know I won't hesitate to leave you behind.
Indeed. I'm coming, Elle. What do you hope to accomplish once this war is over, Claude?
Why? Worried I have some nasty plot up my sleeve? Well, I don't. Although I doubt you're gonna like what I do have planned. I'm just gonna come out and say it. After the war, I'm going to abolish the Central Church and depose the Archbishop. The people of Fodland have been shackled by this decrepit system for too long, and I'm ending it.
You're going to do away with the Church?
That's right. Think about it. Who steals your freedom and gives you an endless list of duties and obligations simply because you have a crest? who forces you and your friends into a bunch of unwanted marriages and positions of power. The church even forbids any official contact with outside regions. Not exactly great for Fargus, right? Being as close to Serang and Albinia as you are.
But to be clear, your issue is with the church, yes? Not with Fargus itself?
Exactly. We have nothing to gain by fighting you. And really, our enemy isn't the actual church so much as the people at the top who make all the decisions.
I understand where you're coming from, Claude. And on a personal level, I actually agree with you.
But as a king, you're opposed.
Yes, for 3 reasons. First, abolishing the church would deny the king's right to rule Fargus. Without one, the people will descend into chaos and war. Would you be able to take responsibility for such a thing once it came to pass? Second, recklessly discarding the church will only incite discord among the clergy and its supporters. And finally, a revolution of this nature will not only mean casualties among the common folk, but will endanger your own life as well.
Leaving the first 2 for a second, I have some serious issues with that last one. I'm glad you're concerned for my safety, but I can take care of myself.
But don't you see? The people you wish to depose are human, just as you are. No matter what ingenious scheme you come up with, or how careful you try to be, they will suffer. And their vengeance will eventually find you, no matter how hard you try to stave it off. I know full well the guilt that accompanies such actions, and the retribution they provoke.
Everyone has to deal with the consequences of their decisions. If you let it rule you, Fodlan never changes. And if it doesn't change, it'll just fall apart.
But not taking the time to look where you're going will only lead you to stumble and fall. And if there are those who would be hurt by this, I consider it my duty to help them.
There you go, trying to save everyone again. You really are too good for me.
And to be honest, I'm jealous of how you're not burdened with the same restrictions.
In the world I'm trying to create, you wouldn't be burdened by them either. You could even... No, forget that. I'm serious about what I said, though. And I really do admire how you want to save everyone. Honestly, if you weren't a king, I think we could have been friends.
I feel much the same. Had I joined with you, I might have been able to see a different vision of Fodlan.
No one here? Good. Now quietly, sneakily.
Bernadetta?
Back to the beyond from whence you came! I haven't done anything wrong, I promise. I was just really hungry!
Bernadetta, wait! There are a bunch of crates over...
Ow! Oh, no!
Well, it took a while, but we finally managed to clean everything up.
Sorry about that. Again. Why does this kind of thing always happen to me? First I run into you, and then the crates are stacked in a completely different place. It's all just the worst.
I wasn't expecting to find anyone up at this hour, so I apologize for scaring you.
Wait, no, I didn't mean you're the worst. I mean, I didn't actually want to see you, but... Wait, that sounds bad. I just...
Think nothing of it. You were raised in the Empire, so it's only natural you'd be afraid of me. But, if I may, why were you in the mess hall so late?
Wait, are you interrogating me? Am I going to be royally executed? No!
Don't be ridiculous. Why would I have a valuable ally executed?
Wait, you mean it? You better mean it! I won't let you live it down if you're lying!
I would not lie about something like that. In fact, I swear upon the goddess... No, on my father's name.
Okay, I guess I can tell you then. I missed dinner because I shut myself inside my tent. But then I was so hungry, I couldn't sleep, so I decided to come out here.
I see. And then?
I wasn't trying to steal food, I promise! I just thought there might be leftovers, or maybe an apple that rolled under someone's chair.
Please calm down, Bernadetta. I'm not judging you for what you eat or when.
You're going to eat me? No! I taste terrible!
Ah, she is utterly exhausting.
Why do I feel someone watching me?
Hello, Bernadetta.
Somebody!
Stop. I am not a ghost and I am not here to scold you. I'm just here to get food because I'm hungry. I was stuck inside all day with work and missed my chance for dinner.
Help! Oh, so you're just like me then.
It's rather difficult being shut inside all the time. I always lose track of the hour.
Yeah, same. But how'd you know I was inside all day today? Oh no. Was this work of yours spying on me?
No. If I had time to spy on people, there wouldn't be piles of documents teetering atop my desk.
Yeesh, that sounds rough. Wait, hold up. Why are you taking all those raw veggies and that dried meat?
Because it's my dinner? Which I missed? I thought I made all of this clear.
What? So you're gonna eat them just like that? Not that there's any problem with that.
Well then, Bernadetta, perhaps we could cook something together.
Cook?
Yes. You have a bit of talent in the kitchen, right? Maybe you can take this chance to teach me.
Sure, I guess. I mean, if you're gonna insist, then I'll show you just how good I am. I think I heard you like this cheese and spice. The bag!
All right, that should do it. What's the matter, Bernadetta? You seem to be shrinking away.
I can't do it. I can't cook in front of a stranger.
I hardly think we're strangers at this point, but regardless, it looks fine to me. There's no need for you to be so distraught.
It's not fine! The spice bag ripped and they all fell in, and then I got so flustered I dropped an entire reel of cheese in there! It smells terrible, and I mean really terrible. There's no possible way it's going to taste good! What? Okay, if you force yourself to eat that, you're going to be sick for days.
I'm not forcing myself to do anything. It would be a shame to waste food we made together.
So it's not gross? You don't feel sick or anything? Well, I guess I could try it then. So disgusting! How did you even eat it? Oh, wait. Don't tell me. You're eating it as an excuse to say, I hereby sentence you to death for feeding me horrible food!
Do you honestly believe I wander about executing people at will for the smallest transgressions?
No! I don't want to die! Let me live!
Too much cheese and spice, is it? I suppose I'll bring her something else for dinner, since she only had one bite of this.
You must rest, Your Majesty. These late hours will only undermine your health.
I appreciate your concern, but I fear sleep eludes me after our last battle. No need to wait for me to do, or to worry. I'll rest when I find a suitable stopping point.
You said the same the other day, then worked until the break of dawn.
I should know better than to argue when you get like this. Very well. I'll rest once I know these documents contain no errors. And if you assist me, it will go all the faster.
This is written in the language of Dusker. Is it a letter to the leadership?
Yes. I'd asked their cooperation in investigating a number of matters pertaining to the tragedy of Dusker. Some interim reports arrived the other day, so I'm thanking them for those and requesting a further investigation into another matter.
I see. Such important tasks warrant daylight. Can this not wait until morning?
And what if I fall in battle tomorrow and the work remains forever unfinished? I must do all that I can while I still draw breath. I will uncover the truth of that day and exact revenge for the dead. I swear it. There's no time to waste. After all, it doesn't appear resolving this issue will be as simple as just setting all the perpetrators to meet their end.
All the more reason to rest and preserve your health.
My rest and health can wait. At least until I've looked through these inquiries into the Western Front. And I should put in some training before I sleep, to make up for all this desk work.
Do you still have nightmares of that day?
You remember then? I'm surprised. I've not mentioned them in years. I used to summon you to my room under the pretense of keeping you safe from the others in the castle. Then I'd have you listen to me babble until sleep finally claimed me.
I've always been grateful for the consideration you showed.
It was my own selfishness, nothing praiseworthy.
Well, if sleep still evades you, I would be happy to lend an ear.
That would only succeed in exhausting us both. We have an early start tomorrow, so please, get some rest. I know you will once again implore me not to overextend myself. But I assure you that I know my own limits better than anyone.
At least let me bring tea before I depart.
That would be wonderful to do. And apologies for always putting you through so much trouble.
Your Majesty, You will take ill if you keep sleeping at your desk.
Do? Oh, I've done it again. Yes, well, thank you for waking me and sparing my poor neck any further damage.
You sounded pained. Is everything all right?
Dreaming of the past again, I fear.
The tragedy?
No, the day I returned to the capital afterward. Do you remember the child who cursed me after my father's funeral?
Oh, yes. I believe he was the son of a knight who fell in Duscar.
He was furious that I would not take revenge on your people, and even more enraged to see you serving as my vassal. He berated me without mercy, demanding I kill you then and there. All I could do was walk away. Everyone desires revenge for that day. Survivors and the dead alike cry out for retribution.
I know, Your Majesty.
I seek to fulfill the duty they have given me, and have never once flinched from it. And yet, to do. If I were mortally wounded and begged with my dying breath for you to avenge me, what would you do?
I would do it, even at the cost of my life.
And if I told you to forget me and live for your own happiness?
I would regretfully decline. I cannot know happiness without you by my side. I would still seek vengeance, just for my own sake, not yours.
Interesting. And nothing I say to the contrary will change your mind?
Your Majesty, can you not live for your own sake?
My life is not my own. It belongs to my kingdom, my people, and the dead. But had I been born to a different fate, well, perhaps I would have traveled outside Poland with you as a mercenary. Or perhaps I'd be a farmer. I confess the thought does sound rather delightful.
Surely you could still tread those paths.
It was a jest to do. I merely said the first thing that came to mind. I am driven by matters on which I cannot permit myself to yield. I hope you understand that.
Well then, all the more reason to get some proper rest. If work remains, I will aid you. If you have difficulty sleeping, I will lend you my ear. But seeing you slumped over at your desk disturbs me. Every time, I fear death has come for you in the night.
Death will never sneak up on me as long as I remain under your watchful attention.
Your Majesty, please.
Though, if I were to die and leave you alone, the aftermath would be horrendous. I suppose I will heed your advice. Just this once.
Thank you, Your Majesty.
How long are you going to keep staring blankly like an idiot? You should eat.
You're right. My apologies.
Let me guess, you're in a tizzy about how best to make use of the Church's forces. Or maybe you're just worried about how our forces will survive the winter. Well, knock it off. A good leader knows when to let their vassals do the worrying for them.
Is that why you left your uncle in charge of House Fraldarius?
Yes. Though I've been returning to the territory the moment any issues arise with his governance.
And your mother? Is she in good health? I imagine it's difficult to manage all the family squabbles on her own.
Oh, she's fine. She's good at that sort of thing. I actually think she likes it. I suggest you focus on your own issues for once, instead of worrying about everyone else.
I'm not sure that's possible. Oh, but that does remind me. I hear the Knights wanted to hold a joint training session.
Forget it. You'll never change. I'd tell you to stop brooding so much, but I'd be wasting my breath.
I cannot afford to lose this war, Felix. I must protect the kingdom. I must avenge the fallen. Each day, we draw ever closer to those who pulled the actual strings. I've already punished any who knew of the plan and did nothing, as well as a number of middle-rank conspirators. But it isn't enough. There are still those who must answer for this crime with their lives.
You are a book with one chapter and no ending. What will you do when you actually have this revenge of yours?
I don't know. But if I can quell their grief and their hate, it will be enough. Do you hate me, Felix? After all, I saw Glenn die. I watched it and could do nothing. His end lies on my shoulders.
That's enough. I don't hate you, okay? You weren't responsible for any of that. They didn't die for your sake. They made their own choices of their own free will. Don't be so conceited.
But surely they didn't want to die. Yet they did so to protect me. Me. I am undeserving of such sacrifice.
I told you to quit brooding and eat. Your food's going to rot if you wait any longer.
Yes, of course. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, but I swear I will avenge you. Please, just wait a little longer. I will uncover who drove you to your deaths, no matter the cost.
Dimitri.
Glenn. Oh, Felix. It's you. I'm sorry you had to see that.
After 20 years, I've seen all of you there is to see. Everyone else is asleep. You know that, right? So why are you locked up here in the chapel? Also, what's with the mumbling?
I suppose there's little sense in hiding it from you. I suffer from a kind of waking dream. I see them. I see the people who died on that day, at all hours, light and dark. If the Empire was involved in that incident, if the Emperor stood by and gave tacit consent, then give to them the same end. Gouge out their hearts and cleave their heads from their shoulders. Those are the words the dead scream at me.
When did this start?
It's been 6 years. But I began hearing their voices 4 years ago, during my first battle. I recognized the enemy general as a man I had seen in Dusker. When I removed his head, the voices cheered. They laughed. It was as if a terrible pain had finally been lifted from them.
I think I get what's happening here. Look, do you really think your father and Glenn and everyone else would be torturing you like that? You're the one who's doing this, Dimitri, not them. You.
Even if that were true, I can never forgive myself.
Believe me, I know. But it's your job to lead. If you lose your path, you'll take everyone else down with you. So try to keep that whole removing their heads thing in check, yeah? We can just call it our little secret.
Well then, are you offering to let me unburden my heart to you when the time calls for it? You're the only reason I haven't descended into utter savagery, you know. So just as Luke had Kaifon, and my father had Rodrigue, I would ask that you continue to be my right-hand man.
Right-hand man, huh? I like the sound of that.
What are you doing?
As your new right-hand man, my first act is to haul my restless king back to bed where he belongs.
This is absurd. My feet are dragging on the floor.
It's your own fault for being so tall, you sack of muscle.
Say, do you remember how I once carried you in this way when you twisted your ankle?
Yeah, turns out lugging folks around is good training. So just cram it and let me finish my workout already.
Yes, of course. Please, carry on. Time certainly does fly, Ash. Why, it's already been a year and a half since you became a knight. Still, it must be difficult working in such unfamiliar lands. Are you doing well?
Yeah, I'm great. Everyone in the capital has been really nice, honestly. If anything, I guess I'm still just unsure if I have what it takes to be a knight.
Do not give in to doubt. Remember, most knights currently in the service of House Blathed only entered the castle after I became king. You have fought with me for much longer, and so in that sense, you have the advantage.
Sure, but I'm not nobility. I don't even have a crest. So, I want to repay you for appointing me, even if it costs me my life.
I see. Tell me, Ash, what exactly does knighthood mean to you?
Huh? I'd say knights are loyal to the king, and willing to give their lives to protect the crown and their people. That's right. Right?
That is indeed what many claim a knight should be, but reality is rarely so rosy. Put bluntly, it is the job of a knight to dispense death. The code of chivalry emphasizes loyalty, yes, but this is only to ensure knights remain under the complete control of their lords.
Well, I mean, I guess that's true.
I have no quarrel with your dedicating yourself to such a code, but there is no need to stake your life upon it.
But...
My closest friend was a knight who served the royal family. He was near to my own age, and I admired him greatly. But one day, I watched him die. He stood his ground and fought bravely, but his life was snuffed out in the blink of an eye all the same.
You're talking about Felix's brother, right? I remember Lord Rodrigue mentioning him.
His dying screams echo in my mind to this day. My point, Ash, is that there may come a time when you must decide between your loyalty and your life. And though I know this to be a selfish request, when that day comes, I want you to choose life.
Even if it means turning my bow against you?
Especially then. If you find yourself unable to follow through, I beg you to leave the battlefield quietly and with all haste. I pray it never comes to that.
Right. I have something to say, though. I don't think that friend who protected you threw his life away because he was a knight. He just wanted to save his best friend.
Even if it meant destroying futures that might have come to pass had he but lived?
Look, I don't know if what he did was right. So if you're asking me not to throw my life away, I promise that I won't. But I don't think it's wrong to fight to the end for someone that you love.
Well put. Perhaps you're right. In any case, I must be off. I have drills I must attend to. After all, I must do everything in my power to be the sort of ruler worthy of such loyalty.
You've done more than enough, Your Majesty. We all respect you to the ends of Fodlan.
Ah, Sylvain. I was hoping to ask your opinion on our recent meeting.
Hey, I'm always happy to talk. But if you want House Gautier's take, shouldn't you ask my father?
I don't want House Gautier's opinion. I want yours.
Okay, well, we were talking about the pros and cons of incorporating commoners in the nobility, right? Seems to me like we got it all sorted out.
Yes. The discussion primarily revolved around a single point. Whether those without crests are actually worthy of entering the nobility.
I mean, if they're up to the challenge, I don't see why not. It's like how you promoted my brother, right? Skill is what matters in the end.
Indeed. And the performances of Ash and the Commander serve as proof of such.
Just don't get carried away, you know? Too much of a good thing and all that. I'm sure you realize what would happen to the kingdom if we lost the power of crests.
Naturally. However, crest bloodlines are currently fading everywhere. People such as Felix who were born with major crests are the exception in this day and age.
Which means Fargus has two options if we want to retain our power. One, we bolster our military and promote prosperity while delicately letting the bloodline dance play out. Or two, we admit bloodlines won't last forever and create a social system that doesn't rely on inheritance. Neither one would hold up for long, but if I had to choose, I guess the first option would be the better one for the kingdom on the whole.
Bolstering our military is more easily said than done. Impoverished as our land is, it will be difficult to compete with regions of more fertile ground.
Hey, do you remember what I said when you talked to me about promoting my brother? I told you it was important to keep up appearances while we were in the middle of a war. And honestly, I don't have any real objection to the way you're running things now.
Thank you, Sylvain. I knew you would help me sort things out in my head.
I don't usually get into serious stuff like this, but I'm glad I could help.
Such topics are not beyond your grasp, though. Your complete sincerity is a great strength. That said, you never show that side of you to any but Felix and myself. Although, I must admit, you were far from sincere during our academy days.
Don't remind me. Just thinking about it makes me cringe.
If you see the error of your ways, it is not too late to mend them. Or perhaps you require one of my lectures like old times?
Pass. You know I've got them all memorized anyway.
I do hope you realize how much I rely on you, Sylvain. You have so many things I lack. You're clever and quick-witted like your father, yet...
Yeah, well, I've been jealous of your strength ever since we were kids.
None of us are perfect, so let us dwell no longer on our failings. I apologize for taking up so much of your time, though I hope to have similar discussions in the future.
Looking forward to it. Glad I can always speak my mind around you.
Ah, Mercedes. Did you go out?
Yes, I went to the town of Camulus to help the church.
I see. And how did you find it?
The townspeople seemed fine enough, but the clergy were very busy. As you know, lots of people fled to Fargus when the war started. And while a number of towns took in refugees, Camulus is particularly busy on that front.
In that case, I should send reinforcements and resources from the capital. I will speak with Lady Rhea about this presently.
Thank you, Dimitri. I'm sure the clergy will be pleased to hear it. I'm incredibly grateful to you for coming to the church's aid, you know. Most of those people would have ended up homeless if not for your actions.
As I recall, you fled from the Empire yourself at a rather young age.
Yes, and it was awful. We had nothing to eat and nowhere to shelter from the wind and rain. If not for the priest who helped us, I don't know what would have happened. Are you all right, Dimitri? You seem sad.
My apologies, Mercedes, but may I speak plainly?
You don't need my permission to do that, silly. What's troubling you?
I have been wondering for some time if accepting the Central Church was the correct decision. By giving them shelter, I have also given the Empire the perfect excuse for invasion.
You took them in because you thought it was the right thing to do. Isn't that so?
Yes. The Church of Seros is deeply entwined with the kingdom's history and politics. The Crown's authority is granted by the Church, which also takes part in governing our villages. Were I to sunder that connection, nobles and commoners alike would be furious. The kingdom would be split anew, and chaos would reign.
That is a tough one. It seems like you're going to end up with a fight no matter what you do. Well, at the very least, I know the townspeople are grateful. But I also know it's not as simple as all that. I'm sorry. That probably didn't do much to help ease your concerns.
No. I should apologize for making you listen as I prattle on endlessly.
Oh, nonsense. If it helped you in any way, I'm glad to do it.
Well, I certainly do feel better. Thank you, Mercedes. And please know that I am here for you for whatever reason, no matter how small. Is it much further, Mercedes? We'll likely need to rest soon.
We're just about there. See? It's right over that hill.
I had no idea there was a village here.
Actually, I used to live in this village once upon a time. You can see the church where I stayed in the distance.
It is a place of stunning beauty and quiet. It almost feels like coming home somehow.
Oh, Mercedes! It's been so long! Come to visit your mother, have you?
It has been a while, hasn't it? And no, I'm mostly here to show my friend around.
My, what a handsome young man! Are you with the Knights of Seros?
What? Oh, no. I'm the kingdom's... I'm a member of their army.
You don't say. Guess that means you work closely with our Mercedes here. Well, if you've got the time, go pop into the church. I'm sure the priest and little ones will be delighted to see you.
Absolutely. Also, I do want to say hello to Mother, since we've come all this way.
I always find it nerve-wracking to meet friends of friends.
Oh, she's harmless. She works over at the church. My mother and I owe her a lot. There are many people there who share similar circumstances to our own. Too many, I'm afraid. Still, the priest accepts anyone and everyone who comes to him for aid.
Such open-mindedness is rare in these times. I wonder if it's because of the church's teachings.
You know, this village would look very different had you not accepted the central church.
Well, I've heard the most unpleasant rumors about the southern church, and I don't know how to govern all these villages myself.
I realize you know far more than me when it comes to things like politics and war. But I still thought it was important for you to see what you're protecting with your own eyes.
Which is why you insisted I accompany you. To be honest, I have no idea how the war will change Fodlan. But I will do everything in my power to protect this place, and all others like it.
Thank you, Dimitri. Let's head on over to the church. There are some wonderful views on the way there. There are fields of flowers, beautiful brooks. Goodness, so many things I want to show you. Oh, and I need to say hello to my mother and the priest while we're at the church.
I suppose I should give them my regards as well. Considering I hold your life in my hands as your commanding officer.
My, you're so nervous. Perhaps you should let me handle the introductions. I'll just tell them you're someone very important to me.
Wait, Mercedes. That may lead to some untoward conclusions.
Sorry, it was just a joke, I promise. I didn't mean to fluster you. Still, I much prefer this Dimitri to the scowly one I always seem to see.
You are a master of catching me off balance, Mercedes. No, Annette! Get back!
Oh, that was a close one. Good thing we had water nearby.
My apologies. It was foolish for me to attempt that without prior experience.
No, it was my fault for asking you to try and light it with magic.
The fault is mine alone. You had no way of knowing that my aptitude for magic was so lacking. And we were lucky it only resulted in a small explosion. Had the flames spread, it easily may have proved disastrous.
Aw, don't beat yourself up over it. We were able to put it out quickly, and that's all that matters.
What a remarkably positive spin on the matter. Still, I'm relieved you weren't hurt. I have always been abysmal at magic. My father and grandfather were the same, so perhaps I inherited it from them.
Yeah, I guess you're better suited to fighting with something sharp and pointy.
Actually, I had a fair amount of interest in becoming a mage when I was a boy. An old friend of mine would give magic demonstrations, and I always found myself terribly jealous of her abilities.
Well, you know there's a school of sorcery in the capital, right? You definitely should have enrolled.
But I knew they only accepted students who display at least a modicum of talent for the craft. Every time I glimpsed one of those students, I found myself envious of their skill.
I had no idea. But hey, if you're interested, how about I teach you a bit? We can start right now.
You would do that?
Sure. See, I've been helping out at the school ever since I came back to the capital. And after talking with everyone there, I've been thinking it would be fun to, you know, teach somebody. I'd like to help people get better at magic, even if they're really, really, really bad at it.
A fine aspiration. If you'll have me, I would be honored to be your first pupil. Though I imagine your skills can be put to use helping many people besides just myself. I know I am not the first person, nor will I be the last, to accidentally conjure up an explosion.
Come on, Dimitri. It's not like I'll be that much help. But regardless, I'm confident that becoming a teacher is the path for me. Right then, Your Majesty, let's start by practicing some fire magic.
You want me to cast the same spell again? Well, if you think it best.
Fire spells are the most basic magic of all. You just let the old power build up, and then boom, let loose. Okay, so start by using your hands to focus your energy.
Like this?
Don't be so hesitant. We've got plenty of water here, so really lean into it.
I wasn't intending to hold back. Perhaps I could charge it up a bit more.
Your Majesty, are you all right?
I fear we may have a long road ahead of us.
Your Majesty, about tomorrow's drills. Apologies, I did not mean to interrupt.
It's fine, Ingrid. We had just finished.
That was the leader of the Dusker forces, yes? What were you talking about?
We were discussing various tactics and formations. We must be aligned if we're to fight together. The way Dusker soldiers operate is quite different from our knights. I must also be mindful of how I deploy them to avoid undue conflict.
Yes, I hear there have already been a number of small quarrels in the encampment.
It's not a problem easily solved. I'm sure each side finds it difficult to adjust to the other. And you, Ingrid. Do you still hate the people of Dusker?
I no longer have reason to hold on to that hate. Yes, a few of them were involved in the tragedy, but I cannot blame the rest for that. There were many other forces at work. I understand that now. Yet I used to focus all my negative feelings on the people of Dusker, and for that I am ashamed. In a way, I now find myself scared of interacting with them at all.
You needn't blame yourself. The fault lies with me for not speaking to you about it more 6 years ago. I hesitated because I didn't wish to confuse the matter, not knowing the full truth of it. But you were forced to grapple with many painful feelings as a result. Clearly, my priorities were not in order.
You had enough to deal with 6 years ago. So many knights were expelled from the castle, and almost none but Lord Rodrigue would set foot in the capital. Even my father prevented me from going to see you.
Yet, I still could have sought you out. And I had countless chances to discuss the matter at the academy.
I do not think I would have taken it well even if you had. I was convinced that Glenn died saving you from irredeemable villains. I forced myself to believe that. If I hadn't, I fear I may have gone mad.
I was in a similar position. But once I finally opened the lid on that box, I realized just how many were involved, including members of our own kingdom. In the end, I knew I had to reconcile with reality.
And I must also accept the reality that stands before me now. We are allied with the people of Dusker, which means I can no longer avoid them.
I have an idea. It may not help, but I'd like to take you somewhere. The father of that man I was speaking with earlier opened an inn last year, and it's not far. Would you care to join me there for a meal? Word has it he's quite skilled at making all manner of food. Of course, if this is all too much and too soon, I understand.
Not at all. I would love to accompany you. Though it shames me to admit it, I likely lack the courage to go alone. But with you at my side, I think I can take that first step.
In that case, let us make haste. Oh, and this will be my treat, so keep your pocketbook shut tight.
Ah, Your Majesty. Tending to your weapon, I see. My apologies for interrupting you.
It's all right. I just finished. Is there something you need, Rodrigue?
Yes, in fact. I received this from Matthias when I was in Gautier territory the other day.
From the Margrave? But this sword is...
He said he borrowed it from Lambert years ago, and had long since forgotten about it. What sort of laggard keeps a loan so long he has to return it to the lender's son? 30 years!
That would have been around the time you all attended the Officers' Academy together, correct? Would you mind telling me the story of this sword?
It started when our class was given a mission to eradicate a bandit encampment. Foolish as I was at the time, I dashed in ahead of the others, leaving me and my entire unit stranded behind enemy lines. Apparently, your father and Matthias started arguing about whether or not it was worth coming to save me. Broke out into a full-on fistfight before long.
That's a surprise. I wouldn't have expected that of my father, much less the Margrave.
Well, they were both pretty feisty in their day. Neither of them wanted to back down, I'm sure. On one hand, you had Matthias, insisting they wait for aid from the church. Supplies were running low, so charging in could have gotten everyone killed. On the other, Lambert was so determined to come to our rescue, he'd have gone all by himself if he had to. No idea whose plan won in the end, sadly. All I know is they fought their way through the enemy lines together. And lucky for me, they found us before the bandits did.
So, my father tended to charge in recklessly as well. Or perhaps he was just naive in his youth.
Story goes, Matthias's lance broke while they were fighting their way toward us, so Lambert lent him this sword. As he was giving it to me, he couldn't help but laugh about how it slipped his mind for all these years.
Considering what I know of the Margrave, I have my doubts that he actually forgot it at all.
You're probably right. This is just my opinion, but I don't think he ever really managed to accept Lambert's death until you ascended the throne.
Perhaps. In any case, please tell him I've received it. And thank you for relaying that story to me. It seems even in his youth, my father was willing to do whatever it took to see those close to him safe. Yet here I've gone and started a war, knowing full well it will hurt those I care about most. He'd likely call me a fool if he were here today.
I'm not so sure about that. Yes, he did treasure his friends. But I don't think he would have been too keen on abandoning the church either, considering all they've done to protect the people of Fargus.
Rodrigue, you knew my father well. Could I ask you to do something for me? If I ever attempt anything that would bring shame to his name, please.
Say no more. I'll stop you, even if I have to lay down my life to do it. I already promised him the same thing, actually.
You have my deepest thanks. Do you have a moment, Rodrigue? There's something I'd like to ask you.
Anything for you, Your Majesty. What is it?
I want to hear your side of the story.
Of which story exactly?
How did you feel when you learned of my father's death? I've struggled to ask this before, but I want to know.
So that's what you mean. Honestly, I had a difficult time believing it at first. But as moons passed, I gradually grew to accept the reality of it. And of course, I recalled the promise I'd made him, and vowed to myself that I would carry it out.
I wonder then, had I died alongside my father and Glenn and Dusker, what would you have done? You know, a fleeting thought flashes across my mind every time I see you reflect upon my father. It feels as though you aspired not just to stand beside him in life, but to meet death with him as well.
Don't overthink it, Your Majesty. I'm a pretty stubborn guy, you know. No, I didn't wish for my own death when Lambert passed. But sometimes I think that if I have to die to honor my promise to him, I would be satisfied with that.
I won't allow you to throw your life away, Rodrigue. I'll not have you stolen from me by that promise. Losing you would be almost like losing my father for a second time. If you were to die because of me, it would destroy me.
You may say that, but a subject lives by the example their king sets for them. And I know well enough that you don't value your life either. So if you'd like me to place more importance on my life, I urge you to do the same, Your Majesty.
You're right. I have no excuse.
No, I should apologize. That came out rather more harsh than I intended. You sounded so much like Lambert just now, I simply couldn't hold myself back. In truth, that's something I've wished I could have said to him for a long time now. Yet, you were the one who had to bear the brunt of it. I suppose I can hardly poke fun at Matthias for holding on to that sword all those years, can I?
I sounded like my father?
Indeed you did. Remember the story of the sword? About how I got stuck behind enemy lines like a fool? Well, the first thing Lambert said after he broke through their forces was, "Don't throw your life away like that." Not that it was too convincing coming from a guy covered in cuts and scrapes.
I can't imagine. It sounds as though you two were very close. I envy him for having such strong bonds with his friends.
Don't let my son catch you saying that, but he's sure he'd take offense. Anyway, that's enough reminiscing for one day. How about you try squeezing some memories out of Matthias next time?
A fine idea. Perhaps I'll invite Sylvain and the others to join in as well.
Everyone is strangely abuzz today. Is there a visiting minstrel or a mummer's troupe?
Haven't you heard, mister? A funny knight's been coming to town recently.
A funny knight, hey?
Oh, yeah, he's super strong. He can carry all the blacksmith stuff by himself. And he got those guys who kept picking fights at the tavern to finally shut up. But he's also kind of weird, too. Like when you talk to him, sometimes he seems sheltered and obtuse, but then sometimes not.
Why does that sound like... No, it couldn't be.
Yuri, what are you doing here?
I knew it.
I'm glad I ran into you. We have a broken wagon that needs fixing, and I could use a hand.
I can't believe you. Come with me a second. Are you an idiot? What are you doing here?
I had some time on my hands and thought I'd see how things are going in town.
Then stick to the more upscale streets. This alley is dangerous. It's not quite a full-blown slum, but money is still in pretty short supply. What are we supposed to do if someone introduces our king to a nice pointy knife while he's out wandering the streets? By himself, might I add.
How am I supposed to learn what it means to be a commoner without using my own eyes? All I ever see from my throne are the upscale streets, as you call them. And yes, I could send someone here in my stead, but there is no substitute for first-hand experience.
You know you don't have an heir, right? If you die, the entire region gets thrown into a bloody civil war over who gets to succeed you. Lots of nobles will die, but the commoners? The commoners will be absolutely slaughtered. Right now, people seem to like you, so it's in all of our interest that you live a long and healthy life. Got it? And if you insist on coming here, at least bring that giant oaf of yours along to watch your back.
Perhaps I was being a bit reckless.
It's good to know that even a fool like you can see reason on occasion.
In that case, might I ask you to act as my bodyguard today? I'm certain you're more than up to the task.
What?
If I could get a look at this town through your eyes, I think I could learn many valuable lessons. Besides, if I ask to do, he'll surely forbid me from coming here at all. I would be grateful if you would consent to doing this favor for me.
Oh, this is rich. A king asking me for help. Fine. In that case, Your Majesty. I will do all in my power to safeguard your royal person. Happy?
You seem to be staring at me, Yuri. What's wrong?
Just thinking how odd it is that you've grown so accustomed to a town like this.
Well, I like this place, and its people. There may be a few vagabonds in the darker alleys. That just shows how accepting everyone is. They all greet me with smiles, despite my being a complete stranger to them.
Oh, they'd change their tune pretty quickly if they knew you were the king. Anyway, have you enjoyed your little tour of this garbage heap? Did you get a good look at the town through my eyes or whatever it is you wanted?
Yes, and it's also got me thinking about how best to help those of more meager standing. Originally, I thought that establishing medical facilities or investing in the church were the best pathways to this cause. But after seeing the people here, I realized they are not indigents standing around with open hands awaiting salvation.
I'd love to unpack your definition of indigent, but yes, they certainly don't take things lying down.
Maybe it's idealistic, but I think regents should rule in a way that not just nobles, but everyone can see as reasonable. But to accomplish that, a ruler must take the opportunity to truly listen to the people. Of course, I can't go around visiting every burg and hamlet personally. I realize this. But I still feel this is the key to true reform.
Well, good on you if you actually manage to accomplish that. But it isn't going to be easy. First, you have to give the poor a minimum level of education. Of course, they're already fully capable of telling you when they're hungry or if taxes are too high. But they'll need education to understand the policies and laws established by their lords and hold any kind of thoughtful opinion on them.
Education, you say? Yes, that makes a great deal of sense.
Problem is, people aren't in the mood to learn anything when they don't know where their next meal is coming from or where they'll sleep that night.
Right. Improving quality of life is first and foremost. Education can be built upon that. Sadly, none of this will be cheap. And the current war is doing a fine job of draining our coffers. Which means I need to end it as soon as possible.
So the main problem comes down to money, huh? In that case, why not make use of us? If you need funds, I can introduce you to a wealthy merchant or three. And if you need to get some dirty work done, I can lend you a few of my men. All we need in exchange is for you to provide us a little bit of support.
I'll not permit you to work evil in my name. And besides which, tales of how you and your band have eaten lords out of house and home are legend.
But you're a different matter entirely, Your Majesty. If we join forces, my dream is sure to be realized. I swear to never allow you to fall victim to any vile practices. You have my honest word on that.
And what is this dream of yours?
I'll tell you about it in due time. But for now, Your Majesty, do you accept my proposal?
I will consider it. After spending time together, I've come to want to trust you.
I promise it'll be the best decision you ever make. But until then, I'll patiently await your reply.
Hey, did you hear? We rounded up the last stragglers from House Climate.
Yeah, and brought destruction raining down on one of their villages in the process. Of course, it was partially their fault for mustering an army, but I can't believe His Majesty would allow such meaningless slaughter.
Something on your mind? If you object to their idle gossip, it would behoove you to speak up.
No, it's just... I don't really know what Dimitri was thinking either. It's almost like he's built a wall around himself, ever since the day he killed his uncle.
My apologies, but could I ask you to join Gustav in keeping an eye on things here for the next few days?
Sure. You going somewhere? Kinda surprised Adu and Rodrigue aren't joining you.
The two of them recently departed for Dusker. They have their own duties to attend to.
Then why don't I join you? I've got more free time these days than I know what to do with.
Offering to work during your well-deserved time off is not as praiseworthy as you believe it to be.
You're one to talk.
I suppose you have a point. Very well. I'll take you up on your offer. The journey will not be a pleasant one, but your assistance will surely prove valuable.
I was wondering where we were going. This is the village that was wiped out during our recent battle. Hold on. You're not planning to bury the dead by yourself, are you? That's not really a job for a king.
Perhaps not. Yet a resting place is all I am capable of offering them now. Were it possible, I would not have let this village lose a single brave soul. I never intended to see them incinerated by the all-consuming flames of this war. But as the one who authorized our battle strategy, I alone am culpable for their deaths.
It's not like you made the decision lightly, though. You discussed it for hours with Rodrigue and the others.
Even so, no means can possibly excuse these ends. No amount of justification will bring back the lives that were lost here.
True. And no matter how hard you fight for a better outcome, there's no guarantee you'll actually achieve it.
No, I cannot shut my eyes to the cruelty my actions have wrought. Yet, if I do not claim this battle, and its aftermath to be just and proper, my soldiers will lose faith in me. How long must this horrible cycle continue?
Don't be like that, Dimitri. I'm sure people will understand if you just tell them the whole story.
There's no need for that. This burden is mine to bear, and mine alone.
Oh, you're awake. Don't worry, it's only been a few hours.
What happened? The last I remember, I was training some of our new recruits.
You got hit by some stray magic. Pretty hard, too.
Yes, that's right. How could I have let my guard fall so carelessly?
Probably the exhaustion. You usually sidestep stuff like that, no problem. Everybody was really worried about you, though. Dedu and Felix in particular didn't know what to do with themselves. Guess the silver lining is that it forced you to get some rest. If only for a few hours.
Apologies for causing such a disturbance. I'm fine now, I assure you.
Uh-huh, sure you are. I know you're just gonna get straight back to work if I leave you be. But hey, take a look around first.
The room is immaculate. Is this your handiwork?
Yep, though we left anything that seemed like it would need your input. Figured we could at least take care of the small stuff while you were out, though. Oh, and everyone, and I mean everyone, thinks you should be taking more breaks.
I'm certainly grateful for the gesture, but how did you find time for this amidst your other responsibilities?
It was easy once we split everything up. Felix, Dedu, and I wrapped up the training session in your stead. Then Rodrigue and Sylvain handled the rest of your paperwork. You might want to glance through it later, though. Ingrid tended to the horses, while Ash and Annette helped organize all your books. Oh, and Mercedes baked some wonderful treats for you. They'll have you back on your feet in no time. What else? What else? Oh, right. We sent some soldiers out to check on the nearby villages, too.
Incredible. I never expected you to do this much.
I told you not to do everything yourself, but you still keep piling more and more stuff on anyway.
That's not true. I've relied on you and the others much more frequently of late. Besides which, this is what I want to do.
You've gotten better, sure, but I'm saying it's not enough. Don't you trust us?
This isn't a matter of trust. I deeply depend on every single person in this army.
Then why didn't you tell anyone else about how you went and buried all those villagers? Everyone was stunned when I mentioned it to them. They want to hear about that stuff from your mouth, not mine.
Yes, my apologies.
If you're really sorry, then you won't let it happen again. Anyway, go get some more rest. And don't try to say you're not tired just so you can keep working.
I see I can't fool you. Though in truth, I doubt I'll be able to doze off again so soon after enjoying my first dreamless sleep in ages.
In that case, come kill some time with me. I'm sure the training grounds will be free by now.
Yes, that sounds lovely. And, thank you.
Hey, Dimitri. Aren't you supposed to be on break today? What's got you down?
It's nothing. I suppose I'm just finding it difficult to relax. It is vexing to no end to lay around doing nothing while everyone else busies themselves with vital work.
Nobody's forcing you to take vacations or anything. We just want you to have a little break every now and again. Why are you so desperate to work anyway?
Because it is my duty. No. It is the only way I know how to live. As part of the royal bloodline, my life has never for a moment belonged to me. Not even at the instant of my birth. And as a survivor of that horrible tragedy, there are certain responsibilities only I can shoulder.
I get where you're coming from, I think. I felt the same way after my company got wiped out. Still, nothing's gonna go the way you want if you can't bring yourself to trust people who just want to help. And don't even try to tell me you'd be happy with that.
All I want is to ease the pain, both for those who perished that day and for those who yet live. I'm fully aware that I will need to make sacrifices if I ever hope to accomplish that goal. But I will not drag others into my own personal crusade. I won't let anyone else suffer. So, you see, it's better for me to carry the burden myself. And better for everyone else as well.
You say you don't want to see people suffer. But what about you, Dimitri? What about your pain? You don't have a hope in the world of caring for other people if you can't care for yourself first.
I'm not sure how to respond to that. And in truth, I don't know how to alleviate my own pain. I've never given the matter any thought. What would happiness even look like for me?
How can you not know something like that? Just think about it. What kind of things make you smile? Maybe when you finally conquer a tough rival? Or hold a banquet after surviving a dangerous battle?
I don't believe I bear the right to such happiness, but if that time were to come, it would be upon my death, having devoted my life to forming a peaceful kingdom full of joyful citizens.
Seriously? You can be downright dismal sometimes, you know that? Why is death the first thing that comes to mind when you think about being happy?
Dismal? Yes, perhaps you're right. But I find it difficult to consider anything else that may cause me joy.
Come on, nothing? What about ending this war quick and celebrating with all your friends? I'm sure Dedu and the others would whip up the grandest feast you've ever laid eyes on.
No, such revelry would be wasted on me. But I suppose seeing the smiles on everyone's faces would be enough.
Thanks for thinking of us, oh great king. But fine, if you want to carry your own burdens for the rest of your life, so be it. We'll just have to take extra good care of you, though, since you clearly won't do it yourself. For starters, you're gonna take a break, and by the goddess, you're gonna like it. Come on, Dimitri. We're gonna get you away from camp for a bit.
No words can express my gratitude.